Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the rivalry AFC South podcast between the Colts and the Texans. I am your host, DJ AB Cool, or is known Abdul Ramirez, and here's my co-host, head of the table 123, or Aaron, the Texans fan, and he has some news in store for us right now. What did you just hear coming out of the news here, Aaron?
Just today, it was reported, thankfully, after our terrible loss last week in the playoffs. Thankfully, our OC Bobby Slowik has been let go, as well as our offensive line coach, who struggled as well as our offense coordinator. So it's both Bobby Slowik and Chris Strausser, our offensive line coach, gone. So today is a great day as a Texan fan. We get to look up and interview any other OC available, any possible head coach that wants to become OC. Like, I have candidates in my head of who we can bring in, and the offensive line coach. We have people we can elevate, but I know we're still going to look around just to see who we can hire.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's excellent. I think, according to what you were telling me about Bobby Slowik in the previous episodes, I think
Yeah.
Bobby Slowik is, one of those coordinators that, last year you think of him as a solid offensive coordinator, right? I mean, he had some pretty good game plans. He came in here with good knowledge, and Texans didn't have bad games offensively. But now this year, I mean, you've had a different Bobby Slowik where he's just calling plays that are just not supposed to be called. And, one
Yeah.
of those plays you mentioned, the one with Tank Dell, right, against the Kansas City Chiefs, it
Hmm.
kind of felt like almost that play is kind of what caused Tank Dell to get hurt. I mean, if you're bumping Tank Dell's route into another receiver's route and it ended up being a collision, I mean,
Yeah.
that's almost asking for Tank Dell to, take some damage coming on the way down with the ball. So it's just unfortunate that situation there. And I think Bobby Slowik, it was his time to go. And the offensive line coach as well
Yeah.
kind of, maybe shocked me a little, but at the same time, considering the offensive line performance, I mean, it's kind of expected at this point, I feel like, for Texans fans.
Yeah. And mainly another position coach that I am hoping we make an exchange of by firing the this one that we have is our tight end coach, because uh, as well as any other position, the tight end coach has been the most inconsistent as well. Like, I don't know if anybody caught eye of our tight ends against the Chiefs. Like, yes, you can blame Bobby Slowik having Dalton Schultz block George Karlaftis. That's like the dumbest decision ever. But it's still the tight end coach's job to have his tight ends be ready to block. And Dalton Schultz this year, he's honestly a player that I don't mind seeing let go. But yeah, our tight ends have been just so regressed this season compared to last season. Yeah, we had a season-ending injury to our main tight end Brevin Jordan, but still the other tight ends, they got to show up throughout the season, no matter who's hurt, who's there, and who's not. And they just didn't when it came to blocking, especially.
Yeah, I mean, especially blocking. I mean, tight ends not only have to be good catchers. I mean, like I see Dalton Schultz 4 for 63. I'm sure he did a pretty solid job catching, but I mean, as a blocker, I mean, from what you're telling me right now, he hasn't been great. And I mean, that might be a player that you guys might get rid of coming in the offseason. I mean, his contract, does it expire this coming up
Uh, he
offseason?
he does have, we did sign him for 2 years, so this next year will be his last year. But I'm sure if we want to do, we could just say, hey, maybe there's somebody that would love to trade for him, so get a pick or get anything for him.
Yeah, I mean he is a solid tight end, but it kind of surprised me just a little that like the blocking is happening. I mean I don't know if
Yeah.
that comes down to the tight end coach or the OC, or all around just in the staff.
Mm,
But I just think that probably like you said, Bobby Slow with the play calling, just not knowing where to put your tight ends in spots to succeed,
yeah.
is just leading to that. And the run game, I mean the run game did I mean fairly okay. I mean, Joe Mixon was 18 for 88, but he didn't get over 100. And, when Joe Mixon doesn't get over 100, the Texans offense has trouble like winning those games. So I
Yeah.
think it was kind of difficult in the run game. I mean, what was kind of causing it was just the offensive line, Bobby Slowik, that kind of caused the run game to not
Hmm.
be good against Kansas City Chiefs.
So honestly, during and the Chiefs, like when of course we first got the ball, we had a beautiful drive, and then it stalled out in the red zone, which has always happened this season. And I'll blame that on play calling. I'll blame that on certain players that can't make the play, especially when it comes to our offensive line being unintentional with what they're doing, especially when it comes to flags, because they will have a tendency to do illegal shifts. And of course, me. and other fans want to say it's the referees, which part of it was, but the offensive line have been having their struggles all season, so I can't say it wasn't the offensive line, but it was. Uh, but the one drive I can say that was like great by Bobby Slowik was in the third quarter. We had a 10-minute beautiful drive, drove all the way down the field, scored a touchdown. 10 minutes. I haven't ever seen that. So I'll give credit to Bobby for that, for making a beautiful drive like that. Run game was on
Mm.
point, passing was on point, but then it's just when the defensive coordinator's scheme settles down, Bobby Slowik kind of just doesn't make an adjustment. So heading into the fourth quarter, when they started getting antsy, when they got nervous, like when it came down to that 4th and 10, there was only 5 seconds on the play clock, and they decided not to call a timeout, even though we had 3 timeouts. They just decided, hey, let's just hike the ball and just see what we can do. So when it came to that play, especially, I was like, okay, nope, this is it. I already knew the game was over once we did that fourth down play, but after that play, I was like, all right, the game's gonna end, and I need these coaches gone.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine just the play calls, just not really going in Bobby Sloak's favor, and ever since throughout the season, I mean, like you said recently in other episodes, it's just like Bobby Sloak, he just hasn't been great for the season for the Texans, and I just think with the offense, just hasn't been the best. Right, coming from a Colts fan's outsider's perspective, the
Mhm.
offense always seems to like find ways to come back to haunt the Houston Texans. The defense always seems to keep you guys in a game,
Yeah,
versus like the offense always somehow gets a way to get you guys out of the game.
yeah.
Um, so it's just like that. But I mean, CJ Stroud, when you look at him right now, okay, Bobby Sloak's gone, the offensive line, his coach is gone, but now
Mhm.
you have CJ Stroud. What do you think CJ Stroud needs to work on this offseason, or does he need to refresh this offseason? What do you think he needs to work on really mentally and physically for him to come back to like that first year, right, where everything was exciting, where everything was like U.S. fans described? It's
Mhm.
very exciting. The players seemed really good to go to play football games, right?
Yeah.
Where he wasn't as nervous. What do you think he needs to focus on this offseason to go back to that state?
So another key thing is the Jets have interviewed our quarterback coach named Gerard Johnson for their OC, just to pair with Aaron Glenn. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad at Gerard Johnson leaving because he is a candidate that we always thought, oh, maybe he can be our offense coordinator. But seeing the way CJ Stroud regress, like I can't even blame Bobby all the way because I can put blame on the quarterback coach Gerard Johnson because the regression that CJ made from his rookie year to his sophomore year, I can blame D'Amico, I can blame Bobby, and Gerard Johnson. But so far, I want to blame the offensive coordinators, which is Bobby and Gerard, because they had all this season, all these games, all these practices to do better for CJ, show him what he can do better. But it feels as if CJ had nobody to rely on once he got to the sideline. Like we could say last year that CJ could go to our backup Case Keenum because Case Keenum's a veteran, been a veteran in the NFL for so long, so he can talk to him man to man, like player to player, just about what's going on, how to get his mind right. So I wouldn't mind seeing Gerard Johnson leave either, just so we can get another quarterback coach in, an experienced one. Hell, even a previous coordinator becoming a head quarterback coach. But if he does leave, I want them to hire a great quarterback coach for CJ to talk to him to just calm him down because I saw CJ all season just looking alone, looking depressed in a way, just sitting on the sideline, not wanting. Even when the defense got a
Yeah.
turnover, he was just sitting there, just depressed, and like I never thought I'd see CJ looking like that. So heading into the offseason, it's working on his mechanics, working on his confidence, working on his just his play. Because as the games went on during the season, once he started running the ball, we were everybody was pumped up because we're like we didn't think CJ would run out of the pocket the way he has. And like last week when he trucked the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback, I said I need to see more of that from CJ. So that's definitely what I want to see, and then especially just working with his weapons, working with whoever else we bring in from the draft, from free agency trades. So I just want to see his confidence back up, his mechanics working right, and just working well with whoever we bring in as a quarterback coach. If we do get rid of Gerard Johnson, or if he gets hired by the Jets, and just working with the right offense coordinator as well as the offensive line and their coordinator of whoever we hire.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that definitely. And just with everything with the Texans, I mean, It may have been a harsh loss, right? 14-23.
Hmm.
But just like, the Kansas City Chiefs, we all know they're a great team, but there has been, right, the rumors of officiating and potential, like why are there so many penalties on the Texans, not the Chiefs, right? All this vice versa. Do you think that all this kind of narrative surrounding the Chiefs, you think like now when you kind of see the Texans face them, do you think that they're true? Do you think that they're not true? What do you think about kind of like the officiating in that game, in the Texans and Chiefs game there?
So a part of me, but even before heading into the game that we played against them in Week 8, I still felt as if because I'm the type to watch all season like of the one team that everybody hates, which everybody in the NFL hates the Chiefs. So I've seen it all year, all their lucky wins, their so-called just flags that are out of nowhere. So heading into this game, of course, I expected it, but I didn't expect it as bad. Like Will Anderson hitting him in the shoulder with his mask, and they said head to head, and then Henry Toa and then I believe Mario Edwards colliding with each other. But they said,
Oh
oh, they
wow.
hit Pat Mahomes' head, so they called a flag on that. And then you know, of course, the flags were a contributor because after the Will Anderson uh, it was third down, and Will Anderson, had that flag, and they did, automatic first down because it would have been a fourth down because Patrick
Mm.
Mahomes overthrew Travis Kelsey, and the other drive, which was the Henry Toa and Mario Edwards hit and flag for unnecessary roughness. What happened after that? Just a long drive for a touchdown. So those flags just contributed to it, but I didn't. I thought I saw all of it until I saw Patrick Mahomes decide to run to the sideline and flop. I was like, "Oh, okay, I see how this is going." I said, "No matter if we lose, I just hope whoever wins out of the Bills and Ravens beats y'all." So that was
Yeah.
my thought going into the. But it's crazy to me to finally hear the announcers, the media, be on your side because Troy Aikman, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman especially, he was like, "Oh, this is wrong. That's the wrong play. That's the wrong call," and it caught me off guard to hear that, and I was like, "Wow, they're finally seeing what us fans see." And even the media, like Stephen A. Smith, Cam Newton, they're all on their ESPN shows saying, "Oh yeah, we see those egregious calls," and even Tom Brady, they want to make change. They want the NFL to make changes to the so-called quarterback slides, the late hits. But the
Mm.
only reason they still make those calls is because the golden child of the NFL, the Chiefs, golden child quarterback of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, who's making you the most money. They're gonna just protect them at most cost.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna go ahead and protect him. And definitely, I know I saw that clip, and I believe it was Patrick Mahomes kind of going towards the sideline,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of walked on purpose, so the defender
Yeah,
hit him. It
yeah.
was the most just like I don't even know if he does it on purpose. I mean, he just seems like he knows he's gonna try to get some kind of flag, which at that point, now it's become expected, right? You
Yeah.
expect it. There's a difference between, right? Oh, I accidentally just like ran out of bounds, right? But
Like
no, you
I thought
expect it.
I thought I saw LeBron James in a helmet in the Chiefs uniform. The way he
Yeah,
flopped
yeah.
out of
Exactly. I mean, I think LeBron and Patrick Mahomes comparisons, you're not wrong for that. I mean, that's just definitely like almost what it is. But the Chiefs, I mean, we'll hopefully see, like you said, the media's catching on. I think the NFL this offseason will start to make changes in terms of like the quarterback slides,
hmm
the quarterback runs. And I think if they do, I think next season we'll start to see a different element when it comes to quarterback runs in general. I think
Yeah.
quarterbacks running will be kind of like a different style, or they will kind of be more cautious with it. As now, I'm pretty sure defenses will gain some might gain some sort of leverage, maybe with the NFL, maybe adjusting the rules just a bit.
Yeah,
So we shall
especially
see
because
what
yeah, no, I was gonna
exactly.
say, especially because of like the so-called instances, like say with Trevor Lawrence with his unfortunate hit with our player Aziz. Those late slides and all that's got to change. So I mean, for me, I'm on the same path as what other, even as, like I said, Tom Brady. Once again, he especially said, you know what, they should start throwing flags on the quarterback for doing those late slides, causing their injury. Because what can you do? You're sliding late in front of a defensive player who is ready to attack you, which they attack every other position. But oh, now they gotta stay lenient on the quarterback who runs the ball to where he shouldn't be going.
Yeah, agreed. I think the late slides is just totally different from doing a regular one, and
Hmm.
it's just something that just shouldn't be really allowed in the league. And we've seen so many situations where it's just gone way downhill. But the Texans, I mean, like you said, the good news is there.
Yeah.
Bobby Slowik is not in Houston. Oh,
Hmm.
okay. And then I don't know your offensive line coach. I believe is Chris Strausser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chris Strausser again. I think you guys will hire another offensive line coach. Hopefully, he's better and the offensive line improves because CJ Stroud struggled
Hmm.
in the pocket with behind that egregious offensive line. But now,
Yeah.
it's all about moving on. We'll see, what happens with the Houston Texans and enjoying the championship games. On the other side, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I believe I have
Hmm.
talked to you a little bit about this. Our general manager, Chris Ballard, and how
Yeah.
he did stay, right? And I believe I talked to you
Yeah.
about like some wanted him to stay, some wanted him to not stay, but he ended up staying.
Hmm.
And I'm on the side of, you know, at this point, right? If they did decide to keep him, the owner Jim Irsay did decide to keep him. I do want to hear some of your thoughts. You're an outsider's perspective, right? Texans fan. What did you think of Chris Ballard
Hmm.
getting another year and a chance to stay, after having 8 years with the Indianapolis Colts and not
Yeah.
seeing many results?
Well, like last week when I was talking to JDW on the Rival podcast, I was telling him it like because I went to go back and I rewatched our GM's press conference, and I told JDW, I said that just sounded like a GM who was really defeated and just like on his last leg. I said, if you're on your last leg, you should have just been gone way sooner.
Mm,
So I mean, for me, it's like I said before, he was he was talking about like some type of motivational quotes to himself, but it feels as if he's not taking it, but it's as if he's talking in third person in a way. So when you have somebody honestly talking to themselves about like that and talking to the press conference like that, it's like this is a dude who lost his confidence in who he is as a GM. He looks defeated. He doesn't look like he has a path. He says he has a path for where he wants to take y'all. Because, like I said, I used to, when I was a kid, I was a big fan of the Colts, like with Peyton, with Reggie Wayne, with everybody on there. So seeing how the Colts are like just from not even like the culture is there. It's just the leadership. So I mean, for me, I love for the Colts to have their leadership back to what I once saw them as when I was younger. So because that would make our games, Colts and Texans, even more like just a bigger a rivalry as it is because tough matchups. We always have tough matchups, but say like no matter what, I'm always going to see Colts and Texans as the two teams who are always fighting for first in the division because the other two are
yeah.
just in poverty.
Yeah, I mean the Titans, they had their years, right? They had their chances with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
Now they bring in Brian Callahan. He's don't get me wrong, he's gonna get another year. I think
Mhm.
his first year,
Yeah.
just unfortunate situations happened. Their record was 3 wins, but now they have the number one pick. I think there's hope if you're a
Yeah.
Titans fan there. So they're able to get Cam Ward, and I honestly think that their O line coach, I believe, is Bill Callahan, who is proven, and I think that offensive line will hopefully improve for them. So again, there's a lot of things that could go
Mhm.
right for the Titans there. The Jaguars, on the other hand, I know they definitely don't want Trevor Lawrence. They definitely want someone else other than Trevor Lawrence because at
Yes.
this point they already know what he is. So I mean,
And with the Jaguars, I know they just hired their head coach from the offense coordinator from the Buccaneers. And me, once I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a desperation hire." I said, "I feel like y'all just ran out of time and just hired whoever, and that's why they fired their GM." So once they fired their GM before their head coach, I was like, "Oh," I was like, all right, Jaguars, y'all might be in poverty this season."
like whoever wants to stay in Florida stays in Florida. That's basically it. They were just wanting to get someone from Florida, but yeah, I mean, that OC is also pretty solid as well. I just think, like you said,
Mhm.
it's also a potential desperation move, which seems out of nowhere. But I mean, hopefully, all goes well for
Yeah.
them too. I know they do have some great weapons over there, and whoever their quarterback
Mhm.
is, I mean, it could be from free agency. We never know, or the draft. Developing another quarterback, or they keep Trevor Lawrence and maybe they
Mhm.
draft a young guy, sit him behind Trevor as competition.
Yeah.
We'll see what the Jacksonville Jaguars do. I know the Indianapolis Colts are going to create competition for Richardson, so I think
Mhm.
that's kind of what sparks quarterbacks to play better is just more though that competition
Oh
factor.
yeah.
But yeah, the
That's honestly why I want the Super Bowl to just pass by already, so we can get to the off season, the draft, the free agency, because I just want to see how all of these teams in our division, especially, just see what moves they make to improve their team. Like with the Texans, our defense is like just key, and like I feel like we just make a few more ads and that's it. Offense is the main thing we got to go after in the off season.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just the main key positions that the Texans and the Colts right now are needing. But also, the
Mm.
other than the GM, we did keep our head coach Shane Steichen. I was happy with that. I remember telling you that
Oh
I
yeah,
did want to keep him for another year because he's only had 2 years, right? Um,
yeah,
Unfortunately, in the division, there's also Rand Carthon, who was there for 2 years and he got fired.
mm.
Titans GM Rand Carthon unfortunately got fired. And I mean, you could see why. I mean, he did invest a lot of resources, and
Mm.
or financials into getting a bunch of players. I don't think he
Yeah,
should have gotten fired, but again, I will save that opinion for another episode. But I
yeah,
think that it was just unfortunate. But they did get the assistant GM of the Chiefs, so that should be very interesting. And I think that will
no,
be
yeah,
really good for the Tennessee Titans there. But with the Indianapolis Colts, we get the defensive coordinator of the Bengals, Lou Anarumo. I want to get your thoughts on that.
mm.
He's a really good defensive coordinator. He's proven during their tenure where they were able to beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. He helped
Yeah,
out with the halftime adjustments really well, by the way. And I just think that, he's a good defensive coordinator. I just think that with the Bengals, they just didn't give him the players and the resources to
yeah.
work with.
I was about to bring that point. I was
Yeah.
about to say the only reason Bengals didn't really have a good defense heading into this point, especially with him at the helm, is because they wasted all their money on offense. So they're not really giving their defensive coordinator who he wants, which is just a bad relationship in general. So, it's good that he left and going to a pretty stout defense as a Colts. Like they've always had such good defenses, no matter what year it is. They're always the type to fight. So yeah, no, I believe he'll do a good job at what he does for the Colts.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And definitely it's going to be something to look forward to.
Mhm.
Lou Anarumo, I mean, he's one of those defense coordinators that is able to blitz more of the time. We know with Gus Bradley, he was always like bottom three or probably the least amount of attempted blitzes, right? It was
Mhm.
always zone coverage, always just kind of wait, just, more protect against like the quarterback. And I don't like protect. I mean, I think a lot of Colts fans are arguing that we need to considering the players we have, we need to be aggressive. I mean, if you
Mhm.
drafted a guy like Ladu Ladu from UCLA, who's got all these kind of moves at edge, why don't you use him aggressively instead of using him passively? So I think with a defensive coordinator like Lou Anarumo, I hope that he can kind of show the zones coverages, but this time just much more aggressive, more
Mhm.
blitzes than normal. And I mean, we'll hopefully see that it can, work out.
Yeah. And with the Texans, with our offensive coordinator position open, I've heard from other Texan fans from the radio of who everybody wants. Like, there's names like Doug Peterson, Chip Kelly, Byron Leftwich, and of course, an elevation, Gerard Johnson. But honestly, those are the three names I would love to see as well. Uh, so for me, no matter who we hire in the offensive coordinator job, it's just making sure that they help improve the offense, help improve the schemes, doing a better job than what Bobby did, and especially if you bring up a head coach like bring in a head coach for the offense coordinator position like Doug Peterson or say Chip Kelly, them they've been through it. They know what they're doing. They know what they want to do when heading to the place that we've never been, AFC Championship, Super Bowl. So trusting in them, knowing that they're experienced with any offense they can work with. Because Bobby, he came into the season with a lot of weapons. He's still on his second year, so he's still having to register what he's doing, but he still kept the same scheme from a year ago. So teams are going to be like, oh, this is just from last season. We know what he's going to do now. So with a new offense coordinator who has experience from a head coaching position, offense coordinator position, that's what we need to bring in instead of somebody that's new, somebody's on their first year of an offensive coordinator job. So I'd want somebody experienced instead of somebody new.
Yeah, I mean the Texans on the Texans side, right? When you talk about the offensive coordinator position, like you said, you listed a good amount of names there, and I
Mm.
mean, hopefully, right? I mean, all you
Yeah,
guys want is just an offensive coordinator that knows how to play call, knows how to use all the talent that you guys have right now, and that kind of brings me to the question: do you think that the Texans would resign Stephon Diggs, or do you think with the injuries that
for
maybe
me
they
as a
wouldn't.
for me as a fan, I would want to just let Stephon walk because I don't really want to waste too much more money. Yeah, he's great, he's skilled, but he's already up there in age. And for me, I want to stay younger. I want to stay faster. Like my eyes are set on the draft. Hopefully us trading up or staying still, and Ohio State wide receiver Ibuka falling to us because I would love to see him in the Texans uniform with C.J. Stroud. That's my dream, and having because there's been of course trade rumors and everything. Like they've said that Texans are potentials, but we don't know on say somebody like Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. So especially Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson being players that want out of their teams. So
Oh, um, let's see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we might have to put a pause to this, as seems that he logged out, maybe technical difficulties. I'm sure he'll hop right in. But okay, there you go. We got you, Aaron.
let me see. Oh crap. Oh damn. I don't know what. Yeah.
No,
It's a
it's all
problem.
good.
Yeah. I was wondering too. I thought it wasn't me. I was like, is it me? And then it just popped me out. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, no, you're all good. I mean, so you were kind of talking about more though, with the Texans and the receiver options there, wide receivers.
Oh yeah. I was talking about potential targets to go after in the offseason, like instead of keeping Stephon, going after receiver targets like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who both want out of their situations. Chris Olave and the Saints, you see their offense isn't really going anywhere. Garrett Wilson, he's already said that he doesn't like being with Aaron. So just getting them out of their situations. Just if I can get one of them, I get one of them. Especially with them being great friends with CJ, playing under him in Ohio State. So those would be great weapons, especially to pair up with Nico. Nico's a dog, so that's definitely targets I want. And then still going to get weapons in the draft.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you already have Nico Collins, and he's a receiver that, even as a Colts fan, I could admit, I mean, he's a game changer. And you put him on the field, Nico Collins, you could just throw it up, and hey, Nico Collins is down there somewhere, right? You can really say that for him because he is able to just jump up, snatch the ball of the air, even with two defenders next to him. He's really one of those players. The Colts, I mean, kind of have a similar player in that fashion, like Alec Pierce, who can also do he's really fast, mainly our deep threat. But with Nico Collins, we've seen him be versatile with how you can use him as well. And I just think that, the Texans, they have a pretty solid receiving core. And I mean, to add to it, right, you said Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, that made great addition to the Texans. Don't get me wrong, I really want the Colts to get him too. But but I think they're great receivers.
Oh, trust me. If I see somebody like Mbuka going to somebody like say the Chiefs, say the Colts, say the Jags or Titans, oh, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah, no, that I could see that. I mean, just you never want those good players to end up in your rivals or in the division's hands. But I mean, I agree with that. And as we're wrapping up here, I mean, Aaron, you got any finishing thoughts right here as we're closing up?
Honestly, another point I didn't get to bring up is the Texans before the firings today. We actually a couple of days ago fired our team president as well, so that was like a surprise to us. So that's something that we also got to hire a new team president. So we got a
Yeah,
lot of like it's as if we're in rebuild mode, but we're not. We're just in just elevating mode and like making sure we're hiring the right people. D'Amico's ready because after the Kansas City loss, couple days later when they did their press conference here in Houston, he just looked ready to make a change, ready to head into next season, improved, even more improved, making sure he wants to get where he wants to take us. So I know him, our GM Nick Casario, working, talking like a couple of days ago. Joe Mixon said on in the locker room. He said, "Oh, just I'm heading to the Pro Bowl to talk to players that say, hey, come to Houston. Hey, we're doing stuff here." So that makes me happy heading into next season. But yeah, so for Texan fans, I'll be excited for what's to come in the offseason. I believe in what we're going to do. And for teams like, say, the Titans and Jags, I feel bad for y'all. Hey, y'all, I feel y'all have a long way to go. But for the Colts, the Colts, I believe they'll improve compared to what they did this year. But to the other two, yeah, get ready to stay at the bottom again.
Yeah, I mean, quite the threat, right? Just kind of the Jaguars and Titans. I mean, we'll see who becomes better or improves.
Hmm.
Like I was saying, I think the Titans right now, if like Jaguars don't change their quarterback situation, I mean, we'll see who they get. It all
Yeah.
depends on who they get for them to be good. I think the Titans, I think they have the potential to be, probably good because their defense at one point last year was number one in pass yards, right, allowed.
Mm.
So, they're not a bad defense. They definitely have a pretty good defense. The Titans are one of those teams that you don't want to face, because like they're one
Oh
of
yeah.
those sneaky teams that like, like when you face them, you're like, oh, damn, I don't, oh, they give you that, that bad taste in your mouth, like,
Yeah, like
oh,
they walked up into our house and beat us, so it's one of those like bad tastes on our mouth that we're like we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, and then don't get me wrong, they're a great team. I think
Mm.
now with Brian Callahan, they definitely, right now 3-13. Nobody thinks they're a great team, but I think they have the potential to be. Currently, with the new GM they have, right from the Kansas City Chiefs, we'll see how that works. Hopefully, they get the players in that locker room to sort everything out because they had a little bit of a locker room issue last year. So
Mhm.
this year, we want to see something different for the Tennessee Titans, and that will sort itself out. But now we are finishing up, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron, any last words for the audience listening today?
Not much. Just be ready for each episode. We're gonna bring as much content as we can. Even in the off season, we're still gonna talk about what's gonna happen, what trades are gonna happen, what's gonna happen, especially coming up with the draft. There's nothing gonna be quiet about anything. We're gonna stay talking about everything, especially when it comes to our teams, the division, or even anybody else in the NFL that made breaking news.
Exactly. We're gonna be back for more and back again. I am DJ Be Cool, also known as Abdul Ramirez, and this is Aaron, head of the table 123. That was the Rivalry Podcast, and you have a good night.